This is the Patrick Alexander Podcast. Welcome to your upgrade. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. I'm glad you're here. This podcast is about personal responsibility. I invite guests on this podcast who have stopped outsourcing their health, their body, and their life, and they've started taking responsibility for how they live. Today, I'm joined by Bill Brown. Bill is known online and quickly gathering a lot of followers under the handle the High Calorie Human. He has lived with obesity since childhood and has dealt with chronic Lyme disease and Lyme arthritis for many years, which significantly impacted his health, his work, and his physical freedom. And then in 2025, he made the decision to stop negotiating with his health and began documenting his journey publicly, not as a before and after story, but while still very much in the middle of it. Since then, he's lost around 100 pounds and built a growing audience by sharing the process as it unfolds. Bill, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
It's amazing. As you sit here now, Bill, what stands out for you most when you reflect on last year?
I mean, the last year, it's just the journey itself. When I started producing the videos, I had absolutely no idea what was going to come of it. And I noticed that a lot of the weight loss that you see online and the before and afters, that's literally all it boils down to, is just the before and the after. And you see none of the process involved with it. So I really wanted to showcase the process itself because it is ups, downs, valleys, hills. You never know what you're going to encounter along the way. And I'm super happy I've been able to document that because I know a lot of people that are struggling with the same issue as well. And it's so easy to see all these other ones online and be, oops, snap of a finger, here's how I lost 300 pounds, but never show the actual process and the struggle of it. And it's a struggle. It's truly a struggle. There's no linear path to just straight downhill losing weight. It's a battle every step of the way. And for me, the fluctuations I deal with, I mean, I'm sure you've seen, I can go from 20 pounds down, best I've ever weighed, to shooting back up 15 pounds in the course of a week. You never know what's going to happen, but I love broadcasting that for people because they're going to encounter the same thing when they're taking their own journey, and hopefully they see me. That's the other big thing I wanted to portray, was people seeing how bad things actually truly got for me and how bad it affected my life, and hopefully maybe get some people to do their own health journey as well. But when they start it, they need to understand it's going to be ups and downs. You got to know that it's just not going to be this snap your fingers and, okay, I'm going to eat good. There's a lot of moving factors to it. So,
yeah. What did you expect when you first started sharing online?
When I first started sharing online, I honestly thought I was jumping into the ringer. I thought I was going to get the meanest comments and hate and all this other stuff. And I'll tell you what, I have been met with the most positive reception I ever could ask for. Just love across the board. Little cheeky comments here and there, especially on the Instagram side. There's some spicy stuff over there. But across the board, it's honestly just been amazing. Everyone's been super nice, super supportive. Every day, the first thing I do every day, and especially on the days I lack motivation or the days I wake up and I'm struggling, I really don't want to get moving, the first thing I do is just roll over and kind of scroll through some of the comments on my phone and interact with the people talking to me, and just seeing all of that motivation. Like, I love what you're doing. It's inspiring. I love seeing the weight loss. It gives me that motivation every day to get up and keep going.
Yeah, I can imagine your account. I remember when we first kind of met, if you wish, online. I think you were at 300 followers. Now you're at almost 4,000.
Yeah,
and this was like
grew,
2 months ago.
Very quick. Yep.
Absolutely. Did you expect that? I mean, when you started this whole thing, what were you thinking? Was there any expectation whatsoever?
No, none whatsoever. I didn't jump in expecting to get rich or expecting to just instantly lose the weight and find all this huge following and support. I just kind of wanted to document my stuff, and hopefully I have a pad somewhere around here where I wrote down my goals when I started. And literally it's two goals. It's have fun doing it. And number two, if you can inspire at least 5 people to lose weight with you who are also struggling, then it's an absolute win already. And we have surpassed that tenfold. I've had at least 50 people reach out to me who started their own weight loss journey, who I keep in touch with. I try to on a daily basis, and we coordinate our diets, and we keep in touch with gym workouts and everything else. But I never expected the reception. Like you said, on Instagram, it went from 300 followers to almost instantly. I had one video just hit almost 300,000, and I couldn't believe it. It was like almost overnight. My wife came in with her phone and said, did you look at the video you posted last night? I remember looking at it and going, oh my God, like, no idea. The algorithm grabbed it and people loved it, and it started going from there. So it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing ever since.
Well, your videos are amazing. I mean, they're super simple, but they're really raw and they're really honest.
Yep.
And I always enjoy, and since I'm watching your video, pretty much all your videos, they always appear on the top. So when I wake up in the morning and I open my Instagram, which I try not to do as a first thing in the morning,
I hear you.
you're oftentimes at the top also because of the time zone difference. Your video from the night before shows up, and I always love watching them because there's such a realness and such a rawness about you. And even when things are not going well, you document that. You're not just showing what everybody does online, is showing the beautiful part of life, or in your case, the beautiful part of your journey. You're also showing the rough part of your journey. And I'm sure that must resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. And I think that's probably the most important part, is showing people what you're going to encounter. Because when you're trying to lose the amount of weight I'm losing, or even people who are trying to struggle and lose 30, 40 pounds, it's going to be ups and downs. Like I said, there's no direct downhill route. Like, clap your hands, I'm going to eat right, I'm going to do the gym lightly, and I just want people to see the rough side of it, because they're going to encounter it themselves no matter what on the journey. There's no just easy path to it, and it's going to be ups and downs. And the more I can portray that, and the more I can show every single step of it, I think the better for everyone. Like I said, I try to do some polished stuff here and there with like longer videos, but the short stuff, I just want it to be raw, real, and just show what I face on a daily basis doing it.
Yeah, that absolutely works. All right, take us back to your early years when this all started. What was it like growing up in a body that felt different from a very young age?
I grew up, so funnily enough, I'll kind of lay out my family statistics here. My father, to this day, is 5'10", maybe 190 pounds soaking wet. My brother is 5'11", probably close to 200 pounds. And my mom is 5'4", 160 pounds. I am 6'4", 562 pounds, Cap. So growing up, I noticed by 8 years old, I'm like, why am I the same size as my father at 8 years old? Like, something's kind of not adding up here. And funnily enough, we went through our family tree and we looked on my mother's side of the family, and she had a set of uncles who were all 6'7", 6'8", 300-400 pounds. So I caught a recessed gene from her side. That's why I'm so big. But it was difficult. It was always difficult. Since around 8 years old was the time I started struggling with weight. And I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, where the mantra was just finish everything on your plate. There's starving people in the world. Make sure you eat everything on your plate. And it just went from there. I always enjoyed food at a deep level. It always just gave me happiness. I've always been a foodie, and I enjoy going out and going places. But early on, it was different. And I really didn't have a major weight issue until around my early 20s. I was always overweight. I was always bigger than everyone else around my classes, but I was never morbidly obese. I think when I graduated high school, I was around 280 to 290 pounds, which at this point I would pay for 280 back at this point. But it was definitely interesting. It was definitely a struggle getting through school. And like I said, I never really dealt with meanness or getting picked on or any of those type of things. Everyone was always super friendly. I went to a very, very tiny high school. My graduating class was around 95 people, I believe. So it was a tight-knit community. No one was ever really, really mean, but it was definitely a struggle. Definitely a struggle. Being just different the whole time and not knowing why you're the one that has to gain all the weight from eating the same food that everyone else is eating.
Yeah, because that is a good point. Do you feel like you were eating the same as everyone else was eating?
Yeah.
And moreover, I mean, I'm from Europe. We know kind of what the diet is like in the States. So eating what everyone else is eating could just mean a pure junk food diet. Take us through your diet at the time.
The diet at the time, I mean, my parents always had healthy stuff around. I never drank soda. To this day, I've never been a soda drinker. Sugary drinks, I've never been huge. They always kept juice, milk. I was always huge on dairy and milk. So I probably bulked up really, really big off the milk. I was always renowned for just chugging milk throughout the day. But my parents always had very, very healthy stuff around. They didn't let sugary cereals into the house. Everything they did for dinner, super, super pasta heavy. We were really, really carb heavy, pasta heavy. And throughout my life, my food addictions or the cravings or the things I really stick to, it's always been carb heavy for me, has always been my issue. Like sugary treats and chocolate and ice cream and that stuff, that's never really been my thing, which funnily enough, you look at me, you'd think it would be the problem, but carbs was always the thing. But you also look at, if you look back during that time frame and you look what schools were serving children back then, it wasn't fantastic. I mean, we were doing high bread, high carb pizza, dessert every single day with your lunch. But that was the thing. And the thing that always confused me is through high school lunches, I always had the lunch they gave us at school. I never brought lunch from home. And I'd always do one serving, because if you wanted a second serving, it was charged to your parents. There was a billing account and you get extra as long as it was paid for. But I'd see so many people that weighed half what I weighed getting 2 servings, sometimes 3 servings, and staying as tiny as they could be. While I'm eating the normal portion, I feel like every time I eat, I get a little bit bigger. So it was definitely difficult.
Yeah, I wonder what that how that works.
Mhm.
That is very interesting to hear
Yeah.
because, as you say, you weren't drinking any sodas,
Yeah.
you weren't really eating any sweets, you were having a carb-heavy diet, which the
Yep.
majority of the world population
Absolutely.
has. Yet for you, it somehow counted double, it seemed
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. It almost seemed that way. Like everything I ate, it felt like I was just intaking twice as much as everyone, except I wasn't, was the wildest part. It was just absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. And for so many years, I just chalked it up to, oh, my genetics are so bad and this and that. And I'm the victim. I always had this victim mentality in my mind. I think that was one of the biggest things I had to conquer when I decided to take on my weight loss journey, was just stopping feeling bad for myself and realizing this is just what you are, and you're going to have to find the way to dial it in. It's been one of the biggest helps for sure. But definitely back then, just the angst of being a teenager and being bigger than everyone, and just, it was so easy to develop like, oh man, this isn't my fault, my life is so bad because of this, and just kind of fall down that hole of depression. And I think that's really, I battled depression my entire life, and I think that was a large part of where the pit opened up, was just that whole high school phase and seeing myself bigger and just not understanding what was happening. And it was very, very easy to fall into the void, or what I call the void.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see yourself growing year after year.
Mhm.
So tell me about how that feels when you basically realize this is something permanent, not something
Yeah.
temporary.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you think, and you see so many people do this early on, they realize after high school and everything, they have their glow up or whatever you want to call it, and they kind of just figure out and lose the weight and get on track with life and do that. And for whatever reason, just dealing with the depression and anxiety and everything else I had at the time, when I left high school, I actually went deeper, deeper down the path. That's when I started severely overeating. When I turned 21 and the bars became available, alcohol became a very, very large part of my life for pretty much all of my 20s. I like to call myself a weapons grade drinker during my 20s. I never considered myself an alcoholic. I was never to the point where I woke up and I was shaking without a drink or something like that. But I was a heavy, heavy drinker during my 20s. And the thing that came with that, like I said, during my childhood, I never drank soda. I was never big on the sugary drinks, but as soon as alcohol was involved, then all of a sudden you're doing rum and cokes and whiskeys and cokes and all that stuff. So all of a sudden the alcohol's coming in, the sugary drinks are coming in on top of that. You're eating the terrible bar food, and then combo that with life on top of it, where everything's so accessible. I think one of the big things during childhood was like fast food. You picture McDonald's, Wendy's, whatever it may be. Um, it was always a very rare treat when I was a child growing up. My parents almost never took us to fast food. And then once the chains were kind of off, it's like, oh, I can go do this all the time. This was a treat, but I can start doing this 2 times a day if I want to right now. And it all just kind of coalesced and mixed with the depression and anxiety. And it just made the perfect storm of just gaining weight, gaining weight, gaining weight, gaining weight, and it just never stopping.
Yeah. What was going on through your mind in those times? Because I hear you say, like, when you were a kid, you grew up with relatively healthy food.
Mhm.
There was no crap at home. You were having just only single meals when you had school meals.
Yep.
Once you turned 21, there was all of a sudden you're an adult now, you can drink, and there's all this fast food. What was that going on through your mind that you went on this binge?
It was a free for all. I think it was just the endorphin rush of being out in the world and being able to do whatever I want. Um, I was never super strong with the ladies during high school or right after high school. So I think seeing all my friends constantly having girlfriends and going out and doing stuff with them and having no one myself, it got real easy to fill that void with alcohol, food. Another thing I found, I think one of the most dangerous parts of alcohol for me in the past is I've always had severe social anxiety. And the thing was, once I had 2 or 3 drinks, that kind of melted away, and I felt like I was the best version of myself, and I was a smooth talker, and I could handle every conversation. Well, that was all well and good till you had 2 more drinks past that, and you're just blah, 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 you can't even talk anymore. So I think it was just the ease of that. It was just having no support in my life, no woman around, and it all just kind of coalesced into this massive, massive problem. I think the other problem was I was very lucky employment-wise. I think my employment history had a very, very large part of it. My career paths over the years, each different one, essentially had a different way it affected my health, and it was all negative. Right out of high school, I did mix and match. You know, I tried 100 different jobs out of high school. I decided not to go to college. And my first major job was sales, traveling sales, power equipment. I sold like diesel generators and pressure washers and stuff like that. But I got the opportunity to travel the continental United States doing this. And I went from an 18-year-old kid making no money to all of a sudden the ability to travel the country with $100,000 income every year. And it was dangerous. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't ready for that level of responsibility, and it just kind of flew off the handle. It was excess, excess, excess. Smoke all the cigarettes, drink all the alcohol, eat all the food. And the other thing is, in the sales world is dangerous for health, because I don't know if you've ever been around a rabid pack of salesmen after a workday before, but it is the best bar you can go to, the greasiest food, restaurants every single night, no home cooking, none of them go to the gym. And I just kind of fell into that loophole, and it slightly progressed even more. It's just the whole thing built up. As you can see, like each stage I'm building right now just crept up, and got worse and worse and worse over the years.
And then you turned around 30 years old. Take us back to where you were at then.
Well, even I quit doing the sales around 25. I'll go back even a little further than that. And my next career choice is I was always infatuated with machinery, big trucks, stuff like that. Just man, big iron, you know what I mean? All the fun stuff. And I decided to receive a CDL license and become a truck driver. And I did that for the oil fields around here. There's heavy, heavy natural gas drilling around my area. And I got involved with that, hauling tankers and hauling equipment around and hauling rig mats on flatbeds. But that career path, and at this point, coming from the sales world to this, that 5-year gap is where I went from like the high 200s up to the early 400s or the low 400s. So I'd already made that 120-pound gain over those 5 years. And when you look at truck driving, it's absolutely my passion. I love doing it for years and years and years. But the big thing is every aspect of that career is just detrimental to your health. Number one, I already weigh 420 pounds. I'm climbing up and down a ladder on the side of the truck 20, 30 times a day because I drove tankers. So it's you drive 3 miles and you open a valve up and drain your truck up the ladder. You go to the next spot, down the ladder, up, down. And then when you're not going up and down the ladder, you're literally sitting on your ass in the truck, just driving. And while you're doing that, these are also the oil field hours. You work 15 to 16 hours a day. So by the time you get home, you don't want to meal prep. You don't have time to grocery shop. All you want to do is just put your face in a pillow. So that led to, while you're on the road and while you're working, you got food where you could, which resulted in, again, even more fast food, even more gas station pizza, gas station coffees, Red Bulls to keep you going because you're so exhausted from the hours you're working. So all of this just kind of, again, it just coalesced. And I watched myself over the next 3 to 4 years, that ramp just kept going up. And I did stabilize. I came out around 475 pounds after a couple of years of truck driving. So I gained a whole lot more there. And then I don't remember the exact, it was 2017. I don't remember exactly how old I was. I was either 29 or just coming up on 30, the absolute tragedy happened is I had a meniscal tear on my right knee and absolute massive dislocation. It was one of the worst things I've ever been through. My entire bottom of my knee came out and then snapped back together. And when it came back together, it took a piece of the meniscal cartilage and pulled it in between the joint itself.
Oof.
So very bad injury that put me out of work. I basically lost my career as a truck driver right there because my knee was so bad. And then one of the tragic things that happened, I didn't have health insurance in the time. And at the US, that's not good over here. Not having health insurance in the US is a little detrimental. So what happened was I was able to get the surgery I needed and the repairs I needed. But the problem was it took over a month to get the surgery. So I was at home, unable to walk, unable to do anything for myself. And it was around this time I had just met my wife a few years before this. She wasn't my wife at the time, but we were dating, and she got me through that whole time. She got me through that whole time. But that was, I think, the biggest catalyst for me going from 470 up to my highest at 562 was that knee injury. That was by far, in my entire weight gain story, the most detrimental thing that's happened to me. And it still affects me every single day to this day. The injury was so bad. I still have to have cortisone shots every 3 months to even keep moving on that knee right now. I'm hoping over the course of losing weight, it's going to get better, but that was the biggest thing that happened for sure. And that made it to the point where, again, I couldn't drive anymore. So I had to figure out a new career path. And I decided, well, I love trucking enough, I'm going to stay in the logistical environment. So I signed on to a different company, and it was more running the fleet, managing more drivers and their routing and all this type of stuff. But again, it's another job where I'm sitting in an office chair doing absolutely nothing. And this was right when the days of like DoorDash and Instacart and all those things started becoming available. So everyone's sitting around the office just constantly bringing in bad food. And we worked for a food company on top of that. So there's constantly food being brought in for us. And over the course of the knee injury, and that combined with sitting, I absolutely ballooned up. I think I broke 500 pounds during that time frame. And then probably the biggest event after that was COVID happened. And all of a sudden, food company that only catered to restaurants, I very quickly did not have a job. I was laid off during COVID, and all of a sudden I was at home. Everyone here was receiving government funding, so I was at home getting paid to do absolutely nothing. And that's when things really snowballed. That's when all of a sudden it was takeout every single day. Didn't want to cook, didn't want to go anywhere, get food delivery, and it just truly coalesced. And that's how I ended up hitting the 562-pound mark at my absolute worst.
Yeah. When was that? When did you hit the 562?
562 was around the tail end of 2024. I hovered in the mid 500s for probably from 2022 until 2024. It was early on. And then I noticed one day, I've always talked about losing weight. It's always been that thought in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to do it. I have time to do it. Then all of a sudden you weigh close to 600 pounds, you're down one knee, and it's like, oh my God, I have to do this. I absolutely have to do this. And when I hit 562 and I saw that number on the scale, I was in pain lifting my legs up an inch off the floor to get on the scale at that point. And we decided, me and my wife together, look, we got to do something. We got to figure it out, because I knew within a matter of months I was going to be wheelchair bound, if not bed bound at that point, and I wasn't going to live my life like that. The biggest thing we did is initially, funnily enough, back then in 2024, we tried keto. We'd seen all sorts of stuff on the keto diet, and our biggest mistake was, instead of researching it more, we just kind of dove in face first, going from absolute carbs, sugar, all the bad stuff, straight into keto. And it was so rough on the GI tract for both of us that within 2 weeks, we're just like, no. Like, we're not going to do this. We're going to find a different way. And what that different way was ended up just being a relapse and going right back to eating the same garbage we were doing. And it just coalesced. One night, me and my wife sat down. It was probably February of 2025 last year. And we sat down and just had the realest conversation ever and said, look, do you want to make it past 45? Because where I am right now, it's not going to happen. It's highly unlikely. And even if I do make it past that, what kind of quality of life are we even talking here? It was going to be assisted living or something at 45. So we had a real big talk, and that is when I decided to start the journey. I unfortunately, one of my biggest regrets is I didn't decide to start documenting and doing videos until almost August. So I didn't start right at the beginning when I started. But yeah, it was that night we just decided that something had to be done. I didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew it was time. It was absolutely time.
Yeah, was that the first? Well, you spoke about keto, which you did. Was there any other dieting happening in between in all those years?
Yeah, I tried off and on just big caloric restrictions and trying to cut down the carbs and sugar and the balanced diet. But one of the things I found is the balanced diet, or just the lean protein, the low fat, low carb, low sugar, the balanced diet, it's always worked for me. And I've had numerous bouts over the years where I lost probably 20, 30 pounds. And the problem with that balanced diet is I was always looking for the end of the road. Like, okay, well, when do I hit the win point? When can I go back to eating what I want? Or when's the next cheat meal? It was always what's on my mind. And that's one of the biggest things once you really start getting into weight loss. One of the biggest things you come upon and realize is there is no finish line. There's absolutely no finish line. You think you're going to do all this work and eat this way for this little certain amount of time and you get to go back to normal. There isn't. There absolutely isn't. And it's one of the biggest things to realize, because this is life. This is for life. If you want to get there and you want to sustain it, you have to find something that's sustainable. And I hear this all the time because I ended up going to a weight loss clinic in early 2025, medical assisted weight loss. And that was their whole recommendation. It was super dynamic. It wasn't just, here's your doctor, they're going to tell you what to do. I was actually assigned a health coach. I was assigned a dietitian. I had a medical doctor. So I had basically every front covered there, but it was the same balanced diet. It was the lean protein. It was the low sugar, low carb, eat your broccoli, eat your rice, eat your lean meat. And there you go, every single night. And you just do this from here on out. And that diet's never been sustainable for me. It's always been, where's that end goal? Where's that end goal? So I met success. I absolutely met success on that diet. I went from 562 on that balanced diet down to around 511 pounds. But then just the depression hit, the anxiety, and when's the end game, and when can I go have a cheat meal? And the next thing you know, you're snowballing into 2 weeks of cheat meals, and I'm right back to 532 pounds. It's just this never-ending loophole of when does it end? And that's the biggest thing I've discovered, and I've talked about it a lot recently, is sustainability. Is you have to find a diet that works for you well enough that it's, number one, sustainable, but it's number one, it becomes the food you crave. It actually absolutely becomes what you want every day. It's not eating this super restrictive diet going, all right, well, when do I get to eat the good stuff?
Yeah.
It's, you find a diet that's sustainable where, okay, I am eating the good stuff every single day and I'm still making the progress I want to make.
Yeah, you don't call it a diet anymore, because
Yeah.
diet has also this feeling to it, like it's temporarily. You're just
Yeah.
doing it to lose weight, and then you can go back to what you did before, which was exactly what took you there,
Yeah.
got you into trouble in the first place.
Mhm.
And what you want is, you want to look for a new lifestyle. And if you have a lifestyle, then you know there's no end point, because that is now become your lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing.
The thing also with these, I find it so interesting to hear that you go to a medical assisted weight loss clinic, is what you called it, right?
Yes.
So you get a health coach, you get a doctor,
Mhm.
you get a dietitian, and they put you on what you call, and maybe they call it as well, a balanced diet, which is a diet, fair enough, on a low carb, low sugar,
Yep.
okay, but also low fat and lean
Yes.
meat.
Yes.
Where do they expect you get your energy from?
And that's it. I always had this feeling of just lethargicness the whole time, of just like,
Of course.
okay, this is working, but I don't have energy. I'm not happy. This isn't working. My depression is still through the roof. My anxiety is through the roof. One of the biggest things, I've always had skin conditions too. I wear a CPAP mask because, of course, just through my size, I have restricted breathing while I sleep. So I wear a CPAP mask. I've always had just massive skin issues on my face from having this mass suction cupped onto my face for 8 hours every night while I sleep. That got even worse over the course of this balanced diet. And it's just every little side effect kept getting worse. Now, I don't want to say side effect. Every little facet of my health, the depression, the anxiety, my brain fog was still there, my skin conditions, my joint aches, my joint pain, the Lyme disease fallout, all of that was still there. None of that diet helped with any of that. I was losing weight. I'll hands down say it right now. I lost a ton of weight on that
Of
diet for sure.
course.
But I was
Of
also,
course.
the thing was, is yes, it was balanced, and yes, this and that, I was still getting protein, but I was eating at almost a 1,500 calorie deficit a day. They had me at this huge deficit. I think by the
Yeah, that's
end, the last time I met with my doctor and dietitian at the same time, they had me on around 1,100 calories a day for a man who's 6'4" and over 500 pounds. So it was very restrictive.
I've man, I find it, I mean, in a weird way, fascinating that
Mhm.
that's the approach.
Yeah, that is the standard approach. That is their go-to for every single person. I've talked to the dietitian. I've brought it up to her numerous times. I'm like, so you guys like tailor do your diets to each individual, or you just this is what we do, and we kind of try to tailor it for each individual person. Just we'll change the protein around or something like that. Like it doesn't sound good. It's like, okay, you like pork, you could have a little bit of pork. You go more chicken, fish. It was essentially chicken and fish is all they wanted you eating. Chicken and no skin, no bones, no anything else, just chicken and talking fish, they didn't even want me eating salmon, like the good omega-3 fatty salmons. They wanted me eating like cod and halibut, the stuff that's zero fat, shrimp, stuff like that, just the zero fat, pure protein stuff is what they pushed big time. And from what I've talked to, from a couple other friends across the country who's actually had meetings with weight loss clinics, it was the same there. It's the same balanced diet across the board. They do also heavily push the surgery and GLP aspect as well. The Ozempic, Zepbound, semaglutides, all that stuff. And I did go that route. I did use a GLP-1 myself. Um, I used that starting in May of last year, and I'm still currently on it. I think it has been very beneficial, but it is something I'm trying to get rid of right now. I've been slowly scaling my dose down for the last 3 months. I was recommended. It's not one of those things you just want to cold turkey stop taking it because there can be side effects. So I've slowly been scaling that down. But one thing I noticed, and I will say, for the medical route, if you truly struggle with food addiction and appetite control, GLPs are not a terrible route to go. Definitely you want medical supervision. You want actual medical personnel to give it to you, because right now you go and look online in the US, you can go to a website where you see an online doctor that listens to whatever you have to say and gives you the prescription within 5 minutes sent to whatever pharmacy you want. I highly recommend against that because there are side effects and stuff that come with it. But one thing I will say about the GLP is it definitely changed my habits. It made the way I eat food and the way I think about food. It wasn't just, oh, I'm not as hungry. There actually was a mental aspect to it. And one thing I've realized as I scale the dose down to eventually get rid of it, which is hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months is what I'm shooting for, to be off of it completely. It's stuck with me. The appetite control and the way I eat and the way I want to eat, which is much better than it used to be, that's stuck with me as the doses come down. So I think it's a really good starter way if you're severely overweight and you struggle with food addiction. It's a great starting place just because it'll get your appetite under control. It actually teaches you how you want to eat and to listen to your body more and when you're actually hungry. So I think that aspect of it was really good. But now that I found a diet that's doing 90% of the lifting for me, I'm ready to get rid of it. Absolutely ready to get rid of it.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, carnivore
Then
time.
no, that because you went through all these things, and again, I'm just mind blown by this weight loss approach by by clinics like that. I need to sit with that after this podcast because that
Yeah.
is crazy. That is just that's insane.
It's
Anyway,
balanced diet, GLP, or go under the knife and remove half of your stomach. That's what they have to offer there.
but there's nothing balanced about the diet.
No,
I don't
no,
even understand why. But
no.
anyway,
I felt
it's
terrible on
amazing.
the diet.
And then you started Carnivore. How did that come about? Because that's a far removed from a balanced
It was
diet
far
in the
removed,
sense
and
that the medical community calls it.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, they're the medical community as a whole is still up in arms about carnivore. They are not super happy with people that do carnivore. But I'll get into that in a little bit with the weight loss clinic and actually bringing up to them that I was doing carnivore. But I got to the point, and it was what I was just talking about before. It's sustainability, and I knew this balanced diet and whatever they wanted me to do, it wasn't going to be sustainable for me. And I had to find something where I woke up, and instead of it being a diet, it's just the way you live, like you said. And I needed something where I woke up and that's the food I crave. I can eat what I need to eat and I'm satiated, I'm content, I'm energetic, I feel good, and I go. So I started looking into what I could do. I actually looked the vegan route at first and said, "Nah, I'm good."
Ooh,
I
you
said
dodged the bullet there.
I said, "I'm good on that, I think." And, funnily enough, me and my wife sat down and we got talking, and we looked back to the end of 2024 when we tried keto. And I said,
Yeah.
"You know what? As bad as it was on our GI tract, and as rough as it was transitioning into it, in retrospect, the more I think about it, my joints felt a little better. And, I was a little more energetic, and my headaches weren't near as frequent." So I started looking into different groups, and I think one of the biggest things I found is on X. I found a carnivore group on X, and I started following them. And for the course of a week or two, I kind of talked to the people there and saw the successes they were having with chronic disease and skin conditions and all these other things. I said, you know what? I'm pretty sure I could eat steak every day and be content with that, and that's going to be sustainable. And thinking about it, and still to this day, saying it is like, I can't believe it. But we decided to make the change. And I think one of the better things this time is when I initially tried to go into keto, I was still eating mega, mega carb, mega sugar, just nasty, nasty stuff, super high caffeine. And that's why the GI adjustment was so rough. But one thing I will say about the balanced diet that they gave me, I was already super high protein. I was already low carb. I was already low sugar. So as much as the diet wasn't working for me overall, it made for a far, far easier transition into carnivore. Going in this time, the first 2 weeks, there was definitely some GI upset, a lot of time in the bathroom the first 2 weeks or so. But over the course of that, within a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, all of a sudden, I mean, like I said, my skin used to be just red and flaky and falling off from my CPAP. I have the clearest skin I've had since I was a teenager. I noticed from the Lyme disease, my brain fog and my energy levels and all that stuff started coming up. My clarity of thought. I mean, the fact that we're just sitting here and just completely freeballing this conversation right now, I couldn't even fathom being able to talk like this over a year ago. Like I just would have gotten such brain fog in my mind where I would have been sitting here like, oh, I don't even know what to say anymore.
That
So
is so
it's
hard to imagine
yeah, no,
because
absolutely.
you're so easygoing and chatting.
And the thing is, I think that's a testament to how much it helps with depression and anxiety too, is I've always had severe social anxiety my entire life. For a guy that was a traveling salesman, you wouldn't believe that. But I've always struggled with social anxiety. And one of the first things that just disappeared on carnivore was my anxiety levels came down. And the ability to talk and hold a conversation and have deeper train of thought while I'm doing it, it grew and grew and grew. Now, I will say between depression and anxiety, my depression is much, much better, very much improved. The anxiety's still there, not the social side of it, but just the spring loaded, just I don't know if you know what I mean on that, but that's definitely still there, but it's so tremendously improved. So tremendously improved. The other hard part I had going in, and this was the scary one, is in between the tail end of 2024 and starting carnivore this time, I actually did lose my gallbladder in the beginning of 2025. I'd always had pain in my side from the Lyme disease, and all of a sudden one night it was so bad. I went in and grabbed the wife, like, nah, we got to go to the hospital. It turns out my gallbladder had been dead inside me for what they are guessing was at least 30 plus days. It was almost, it was like 80% necrotic flesh inside of me. And I was so used to being in pain from the obesity and Lyme and everything else. It felt like a normal day to me, but it was bad. It was really, really bad. So I didn't know what was going to happen going into carnivore without a gallbladder. Like, this is going to be very, very interesting.
That's an extra challenge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
How you're dealing with that?
Good. Surprisingly, I thought it was going to be absolute nightmare fuel, but I have found numerous other big time carnivore creators, Homestead How and a couple other guys that also do not have a gallbladder, and they've just found absolute success over the years. And from my research and what I've found talking to my primary care is that your liver adapts over time. Over the course of time, your liver is going to adapt to produce more bile and just kind of fill in the gap for the gallbladder not being there. But I was concerned. I was definitely concerned early on because the biggest thing they told me after the gallbladder removal was low fat. You are low fat for life now. You have to absolutely go low fat. I thought it was going to be the end of me if I went high fat, and all of a sudden I went super high fat and nothing bad happened. In fact, things only improved. but
So,
it's just
so
been
you're not
amazing.
adjusting your diet to not having a gallbladder. You eat carnivore like basically I would eat carnivore
Yeah.
with a gallbladder.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was still trying to do it was such a foreign concept to me when I first started. I still was doing a ton of lean protein. I was definitely doing super, super high fat days, but I was also having days where I was still doing cod and shrimp and super, super low fat, high protein stuff just because it was so ingrained in my brain from the weight loss clinic and just overall health news and everything else and dietary recommendations that you got to watch the fat, you got to watch the fat, cholesterol, cholesterol, cholesterol. And it sat in my head so hard, so I kept going lean protein, lean protein. I noticed I was stalling. I was making really, really good progress. If you looked at my overall trend, it looked amazing. But if you zoomed in on any part, it was just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And I finally, that's when my channel started growing a little bit, and I started talking to more and more people doing carnivore, and they all pushed it into my head, and they all convinced me. It's like you need to drop the low fat meat. Drop the low fat stuff. Have it on occasion. You want shrimp or cod or any of that stuff on occasion? Absolutely go for it. It's not bad for you by any means, but you got to be hitting your fat numbers every day because I was putting myself into, I don't know if I'm saying it right, protein poisoning, where your body's just trying to
Yeah.
utilize pure protein to do it. And I think I was actually doing that to myself with all the lean stuff I was eating. So I finally just said, I had enough people back me up on it. I said, all right, we're going to go off the deep end. We're going to go full fat. And, that that worked. All of a sudden, I went full fat, full greasy goodness and butter and tallow and everything else. And next thing I knew, it was going absolutely great. So the biggest change I've made recently, and I've made quite a few videos on it, but I've gone full lion diet now. I've even gone a step past carnivore. I've gone full lion. So for the last 45 days, actually 45 days on the dot, I decided to do 90 days of lion. And the big reason I decided to do that is for the Lyme disease, full elimination. All I'm doing is ruminant meat, salt, water. That's it. I'm not even doing butter or anything else right now. And the whole reason is I want to find the exact triggers for the inflammation of the Lyme, what causes the joint pain, and just eliminate everything I can. So at the 90-day mark, I'm going to slowly start reintegrating things. But Lion has been amazing. I feel the best I have felt in a decade right now, which is still crazy to me because I wake up and I eat almost a pound of 73.27 ground beef, and then I have 2 steaks for dinner. So,
But okay, so talk us to your Lyme disease because I said it in
mhm.
the introduction as well. You you're dealing with Lyme disease, you're dealing with Lyme arthritis.
Yep.
How has that been for you over the years, and what has shifted now since you're not only on carnivore but now also on lion?
Yeah, I kind of skipped over that on the journey through the years. So it was when I was a CDL driver. That's actually another one of the reasons I left before the knee injury. I was already considering leaving truck driving. Is all of a sudden one day I just started having severe heart palpitations, panic attacks, overall just severe muscle pain and just brain fog. And I had no idea what was happening. I thought I was in the truck one day. I was in a vehicle that weighed 100,000 pounds going down the road, and all of a sudden I'm having a panic attack so bad I can't breathe. I remember pulling over at a gas station and like getting myself inside and saying, call 911. And next thing I knew, I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was having a stroke. I had no idea what was happening to me. I mean, they're on the phone with 911. They're bringing me aspirin to take in case it's a clot or something else. And next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance getting rushed down the road. Tell you what, you're in the States, try to avoid an ambulance ride because when you see that bill, you're going to cry.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, we went 4 miles in that ambulance. It was like $2,000. And,
oh God.
so it's insane. It's insane. But we get to the hospital and they ran every single form of cardiac test there was. They tested me up and down, lipid panel, EKGs. In the weeks after that, they told me to take some downtime from work. They said, look, you're working 15, 16-hour days, 6 days a week. You're just overtired. You need some downtime. And in the following weeks, I had stress tests. I had echocardiograms. I had like every facet of cardiac stuff there was, and everything was completely fine. I had a little bit of a palpitation, a little bit of a weird rhythm, but nothing major that they were concerned about. But I knew something was going on. And slowly over the course of the next few months, things just went downhill, downhill, downhill to the point where I was walking around and my hands would just kind of be seized like this in front of me. Like even reaching out to grab stuff was painful. So it took the better part of a year to even figure out what was going on. I went through every doctor there was. I went through infectious disease specialists that came up with no answers. cardiac, GI. I went through every single form of doctor there is. And at the time I was dating my soon-to-be wife, and she was looking through symptoms because she works in the medical field herself. And all of a sudden we pull up a list of Lyme disease of just the possible symptoms, and I'm reading down the list, and it was just a checklist for me. Yep, 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 yep. Every single thing on this list is happening to me right now. And very luckily, we found a specialist around an hour and a half south of where I live who is a Lyme guy. And he uses, it turns out the standardized testing for Lyme in the US is a very, very, very cheap thing, and it's not an accurate test at all. You'll get false negative like 80% of the time on the current testing standards. So he uses, unfortunately, a far more expensive test, but a far more accurate test. And within a matter of a week of seeing him, we knew that it was Lyme. We immediately knew. And the scary thing was, I had been tested for Lyme twice before this by standard medical personnel on the lower tier test, and it showed, oh, no, it's not Lyme. It's not Lyme. But what they surmise, and the reason I have so many issues with it now, is I probably had Lyme disease for the better part of 7 or 8 years before any of the symptoms actually kicked in. My immune system was probably strong enough that I felt like I had a really bad flu or something for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then immune system tackled it. But then over the course of 7, 8 years, it just builds up in your system, builds up. And through this doctor, I did rotating antibiotic therapy, doxycycline, all the penicillin family. You have to keep rotating it so it can't adapt to any of them and just become antibiotic resistant. But over the course of a year of antibiotic therapy, we did reduce a lot of the symptoms. My brain fog was good enough. I was able to return to work. My balance was back. All the heart stuff, the palpitations or any irregular heartbeat, all that cleared up. So things were great. My GI tract was good, but the one thing that pertained and still is the biggest detriment today was the joint damage. The Lyme arthritis is absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. It affects me every single day. I could probably put my shoulder on the mic and rotate it a certain way, and you would just cry from the noise that came out. But it's something I deal with every day, and unfortunately, one of the biggest things I've had to do to come to terms with it is realize that this is something that was out of my control, completely out of my control, and the way it affects me, I just have to accept it and be willing to move on. But the problem is, the joint damage from the Lyme, now coupled with weighing 500 plus pounds on top of that, it is just a recipe for nightmare fuel, and that's why my knee severely dislocated. Now, funnily enough, and this is the worst part of it, and I always laugh when I tell people this, that was the first round of Lyme disease. In 2022, I actually got Lyme disease again. I have a very small dog, and we live in the middle of the woods. He is treated for fleas and ticks, but what he does every night in my chair, he comes and lays down the side of my leg. So something must have latched onto him, got inside, and all of a sudden my leg feels a little warm. And my wife just kind of gives me this weird look. And by the next morning, this time I actually had the full bullseye rash that you get, like this big across my leg. My leg was so violently hot to the touch. It was just nuts, absolutely nuts. I could literally, within a matter of a week, I felt like I did 5 years beforehand off the initial Lyme diagnosis. I felt just as bad. But here's the thing, and I'll say this to anyone, when you get the actual bullseye rash from Lyme disease, you won the lottery because you immediately know what it is. Number two, you go to a doctor and show it to them, and they immediately go, oh, here's your doxycycline, do your 3 weeks, and you're going to be good. You're going to feel like garbage for probably a month or two, but you're going to be fine. You tackled it early enough and you got it. So that bullseye is huge. If you catch that, consider yourself very lucky, because the first time I had nothing. No bullseye, no rash, no indicator that something had happened. It probably just felt like a bug bite that I smacked something off of me, and that was it. But it's been a roller coaster of emotions with the Lyme disease for the better part of 10 years now.
My goodness. And then now you say you're onto the lion diet because you've heard that can be helpful. How has that been going?
It's really, really good. My inflammation levels are at an all-time low right now. The joint damage, unfortunately, it's so advanced and it's been here for so long. It's going to be really, really difficult to try and repair stuff. I pray every day that I'm going to be able to repair it and run again someday, and I'd love to do that. But for now, the biggest thing that hinders now is my exercise. Again, I'll attribute 90% of my weight loss is pure diet, pure diet. But the other 10% is solid state cardio. Solid state cardio has been the absolute biggest thing for me, because as a big dude, as much as I want to be in the gym pumping iron and doing free weights and every machine there is, excuse me, with the joint damage, I can't do that. it's so severe that I can't lift weights. I can't do heavy stuff. Um, I swim in the pool. Pool is my biggest one. That's my absolute go-to because it's so low impact on the joints. Although it still causes pain on some days because although it's low impact, it's still high resistance, super high resistance. So that'll get my shoulders going. Treadmill, I do treadmill quite a bit just to change it up. And on the lower pain days, I do resistance bands just to try and gain some muscle, which knock on wood, as of right now, my last BIA scan, I am up over 8 pounds of muscle in the last 45 days. So I am able to maintain. I'm never going to be swole, as they say, or jacked or anything else, but at least I can maintain the muscle mass that I do have. And that's very important to me.
Yeah. So yeah, take us through a workout then, because as you say, you cannot do heavy lifting, you cannot do the regular gym stuff. You do treadmill, you swim, you do some light resistance bands training on days that it works for you. Is that what you do on repeat, like 5, 6, 7 days a week?
Yeah, it's pretty much rinse and repeat, Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. I try to go first thing in the morning. I've always been a severe procrastinator, so the longer I sit around throughout the day, the less chances are I'm going to make it to the gym. So around 2 months ago, I started a whole new schedule. I've always been a night guy. I've always been a third shift worker, overnights. So it's been ingrained in my brain for so long just to stay up till 3, 4 in the morning every night. And I finally said, you know what? This time I'm changing it. I started going to bed very early. Instead of going to bed at 4 a.m., I'm waking up at 4 a.m. every day. The first thing I do every day, my gym bag is packed. I wake up, I'm out the door, pet the dog, smooch the wife, and get on the road. And the first thing I'm doing is the pool every single day. That pool just sets the pace for my whole day. Being in there, able to get in there. And the funny thing is you're almost so weightless in the pool. I get to get in there. I can sprint. I can run in the pool. I do resistance sprinting. They have like these big domed gloves you can wear with resistance fins on them. So it's almost like you're basically lifting weights underwater just from the resistance. So I use those and I sprint back and forth and I swim laps, as many different forms as I can. But just the fact I can get in there and run when I can't run currently on dry land, oh my God, it's so much fun every morning. And that's what you have to do. You got to make it fun. You got to make it fun. It can't just be this thing you drag yourself to and you force yourself to. So I do that every single morning. On lower pain days, I'll do the treadmill. I don't do the treadmill too much. Maybe 1 or 2 days a week, I'll do the treadmill here and there. Just because the knee, I can feel this little pinch in the knee that had the surgery every now and then. So I try to stick more to the pool. One of the biggest things I've found is the dry sauna. Dry sauna has absolutely changed my life in the last 2 months. My joints feel the best they feel every single day after that 20, 30 minutes in that dry sauna. Just the blood flow, being able to get in there more, sweating the toxins and stuff out of your system. It's so amazing. And then I also do a cold shock. I do a 170-degree dry sauna, and then I go straight into an ice cold shower every day just to remind myself that I'm human.
How do you motivate yourself every day? Because I watch you on Instagram, and there's days that you're standing there looking in the camera and saying like, "Oh, today I'm just not feeling it."
Yeah.
What makes you do it regardless?
I think the biggest thing I can say on that is the difference between motivation and dedication. Because there are absolutely, no matter what, if you start a weight loss journey, there are going to be days that you do not have motivation. You don't have the drive. You don't want to wake up and do it. But that's where dedication comes in. That's when every day, the days I don't want to do it, the days I'm in a lot of pain, I look in the mirror first thing every morning and said, you said you're going to get better. You said you're going to do this. Are you a liar? That I look at myself and say, absolutely not. And that's the dedication side of things. The biggest thing is on the days you don't want to go, I think those are absolutely the most important days that you do go.
Yeah. Do you have an accountability buddy? Do you have a partner with whom you go to the gym or?
I try to. I do in the near future coming up. I have a friend that's been a personal trainer for the better part of 20 years. I am going to be teaming up with him for a lot of stuff here coming up. Probably in another month or so, me and him will be linking up. But as of right now, it's just me and my wife. We're a little support network. I got family members. I got my little cheerleading squad in real life, and I have the super nice people in the comments and stuff. But that's really it. My wife is currently traveling for work, sadly. So she's on the road so much. It's very hard for her to control her diet and not do travel food and whatever it is. But the minute she's done with her current contract, she will be starting Carnivore with me. So we will be hand in hand walking into this together.
So she's not carnivore at the moment
She
when she's
currently
home.
isn't, which is another facet of dedication for me, because there's some not so good food in the house that I got to stare at and not eat every day. But that's when I realized the sustainability of carnivore, because on a balanced diet, or the balanced diet, when I would look at food like that and it was around me, like, oh man, after 20 minutes, like, all right, I got to try one of those. On carnivore, it's like I look at all this bad food that's still around me and just go, I don't want any part of that. I just want more steak. I just want more fat. I want more grease. I'm good to go. And that's the beauty of it. That's the absolute beauty of it.
Yeah. So now you're somewhere along the journey, and I'll have a question about that in a moment, about how long that journey might be or will be. You're 100 pounds down since you started.
Yes.
With a little glitch over Christmas. I would love for you to tell us a little bit what caused that little glitch. How's the relationship with your body shifted since you've been carnivore and you've been losing weight so rapidly?
Oh, he loves every second of it. He absolutely loves every second of it. My medical personnel aren't super happy about me doing carnivore. They're still doing the whole, well, your cholesterol and you need the fiber and this and that, which none of that I'm seeing is true. Actually, funnily enough, tomorrow morning will be my first lipid panel. I'm super, super curious to see where my cholesterol is going to be. Tomorrow will be the 90-day test. It'll actually be 90 days? I think it'll be 90 days of carnivore and 90 days of cholesterol tests. So we'll see what happens there. It's been really, really good, though. Really, really good.
But remind me again, when did you start carnivore?
I started carnivore, it was October of 25, mid-October.
Ah, right. It was only in October.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's we're just coming up on the 3-month mark right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you said earlier you've been telling people from the weight loss clinic as well you're on carnivore. Yeah. I mean, I don't really need to ask how they react, but let me ask it anyway.
My actual weight loss doctor, I said I'm doing carnivore, and I don't think it actually like registered in her brain. And she kept going. She kept writing stuff down. I saw her pen kind of slow down, and she looked up at me. She's like, what do you mean you're doing carnivore? I said, I'm only eating high-fat meat, salt, and water right now. That's all I'm doing. And she said, that's unacceptable to me. I don't approve of this. I said, I don't care, because she was just praising me for the 20 pounds I lost. I'm like, do you not see the results? Are you not happy with the 20 pounds I'm down? Because that's pure carnivore. And the last line, I haven't seen her since this day. I actually see her next week, I believe. And the last thing she said to me was, will you eat a vegetable, please? And I sullenly looked her in the eye and said, no. I don't think she was too happy with me. I will tell you what, though, my dietitian was absolutely fine with it, because she looked more into the BIA scan results and just said, your progress is undeniable. She's like, it's absolutely undeniable. She's like, I'm going to tell you right now, the way I'm trained, the way I've been educated, I am concerned about your cholesterol. I'm concerned about your fiber intake. But outside of that, she was completely fine with it. The health coach, too. The thing is with the health coach and the life coach, he absolutely agreed. He said, I'm so happy you found this, but he can't professionally say that because he's not allowed to give dietary advice. He's just there for the workout side of things and the motivation side of things. But yeah, it was kind of weird. Kind of weird. Out of the 3 personnel I'm assigned there, one hates it, one's okay with it, and one's like, woo, keep it going. So I got a mixed bag.
Bill, it's unbelievable. I just, at the time of this recording, I just released a video, a little reel on, actually I released a solo podcast today, which discusses exactly this. Yeah. It's like you go to your doctor, you're on carnivore, you have all kinds of ailments and problems, and you're overweight, and you got pain, and you got brain fog, and all the things that people are dealing with. You go into carnivore, everything disappears. Yeah. You go to your doctor, you get your blood checked. He finds it's unbelievable. No more brain fog, down 100 pounds in your case, all these beautiful things. And then they look at your blood panel. Everything looks amazing. Your inflammation is down. Your HDL is up. Your liver, everything is beautiful. But there's this one number, your cholesterol, that has gone up. Mm-hmm. And just because of that, they get all worked up, and of course, then they start telling you to take statins. All of a sudden, all the other things are just completely out of the window. It's unreal. It's
No,
unreal.
it's
I
mind blowing.
understand they're worried about you. I understand that that's how they've been trained.
Mhm.
But to just first for 5 minutes dance with you because they're
Yeah.
so happy how everything is going,
Mhm.
to then see this one particular number above their certain threshold and just freak out. It's wild.
Yeah, no, it's insane, and that's the funny thing, and it's funny because I actually brought that exact same argument up to the weight loss doctor. She said, "Well, your cholesterol is going to go through the roof." Again, we haven't seen the results of the test yet because we're waiting the 90 days. We said your cholesterol is going to go through the roof, but I said, "Yeah," and I brought a piece of paper in with a list this long. I'm like, "Here's the amount of things that have improved from me eating this way: my inflammation, my skin, my brain fog, my depression, my anxiety, my energy levels. It's all through the roof." And it's like, well, if your cholesterol is bad, you're going to have to change off of this diet. So I said, what you're telling me is if one thing on this side is off, I have to give up the 20 plus gains I've received? Like, no way. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. There's no other way of eating that has healed me like this. It's insane. It's insane. And hearing, and it's what you just said. It's just they're trained, it's what they're educated to do. And I'll tell you what, they offer me a statin. I will not take it. I absolutely will not
No,
take it.
I understand.
Nope. But it's beautiful because the other thing too is I'm an absolute sucker for numbers and statistics and stuff. So I track every single day. I'm not diabetic, but I do track my blood sugar every day. My wife is a cardiac nurse, so I get very, very accurate blood pressure readings every day. Pulse oxygen, stuff like that, along with documenting all my meals and stuff. But I'll tell you what, my blood pressure went from standard in the 140s over 90s to I'm in the high teens to low 20s over 70s right now. My blood pressure is completely
Wow.
stabilized. Again, with a cardiac nurse wife, she's very, very happy with that. My blood sugar went from averaging around 105. I was flirting right around the edge of pre-diabetic. I was never diagnosed pre-diabetic, but I was flirting with my sugar right around there. My average blood sugar every single day is like the mid to low 80s right now, so that's absolutely phenomenal. My resting heart rate has come down, and another thing I've noticed is I track my heart rate while I'm at the gym, and actually my active heart rate while I'm swimming, while I'm on the treadmill, that's slowly starting to come down as well. I noticed on the treadmill the other day, I'm usually around 112 to 113 beats a minute. I was like solid 105, going faster in a longer distance than I've done in a long, long time. So it's just seeing all of these things changing for the better is just crazy.
Yeah, but Bill, what about your cholesterol?
I'm excited. I'm super excited to see what it is. I'm super excited to see what it is because we get through my medical clinic, everything's on my phone. I have an app on the phone, so every time I do blood work or have testing, boom, as soon as the results are live, I don't have to wait for a doctor to call me, do anything else. I'm sure I'll get ripped over it down the road, but I get to look at it right on the app and just go, okay, so this is this. So I'm very, very excited to see where things are going to be because my good cholesterol was already low. My bad cholesterol was already high, and my triglycerides were looking really, really good. But I'm super curious to see what kind of changes we're going to see tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow.
Absolutely. Will you share it with us?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll have a video out. That's my biggest thing because that's most of the angry comments I get on Carnivore is cholesterol stuff. Cholesterol, carnivores, heart attacks for guys like you and this and that. So that's why I document so hard and I track my statistics so hard every day is because I want to share every single aspect of what I'm doing on the weight loss journey and show people what can be done, number one, but important things for them to trace along the way if they're doing it as well. But I'm very, very curious to see as soon as I have those results, especially if they're looking fantastic. That will be live for everyone to see.
That's brilliant.
Mhm.
So, what is your goal in the end? You're I wouldn't even say midway because I don't even know what the end is, but I can imagine you want to lose way more than another 100 pounds. I know you've said openly on Instagram you would like to lose another 100 pounds in 2026, which
Yes.
I guess is going to be easy.
It's starting to look that
but
way. It's starting to look that way.
right, it goes fast at the
Yeah.
moment. But what is your
My
I don't know,
ultimate
lack of a
goal.
better word, end goal?
Yeah, my ultimate goal right now, like I said, I am beyond being obese and everything else. I am a very, very large human being. If you saw a better picture of me like standing in a door frame, my shoulders are wider than most standard door frames. I am a big, big boy. So I think probably the best I'm ever going to see, and this is probably a long shot, even hoping to get there, but I think 250 pounds is my ultimate goal. If I can hit that, I'm going to be completely content. If I can get within 10 pounds of that, 20 pounds of that, I'll be completely content. I'd say right now, the biggest goal is getting under 300 because I know I've been there. I know when I graduated high school, I was already at this height and everything else. I know it's possible to be under 300 pounds. So from where I sit right now, we have, for my weigh-in on Monday, I think I was 206 pounds away from my goal. So 100, I'm down 105.4 right now currently. That 0.4 is really important, by the way. I love the points in there. But it sounds like so much weight and it sounds like such a success, but then you realize in the overall picture, that's why I'm not out here like celebrating in the streets. Woo, I got my 100 pounds down, because it's a third of the way. I'm a third of the way. And I do have a feeling the closer I get towards the bottom end of this, the more fluctuations we're going to see, the more ups and downs, the more plateaus, the more stalls. But I'm here for every second of it. I'm ready to tackle whatever challenge comes along. I'm just ready and I'm here.
Perfect. Well, just for those who are watching this podcast, this is being recorded in the middle of January. So maybe by the time this is being published online, you're already down another 20, 30 pounds.
You never know. I'm down 24 pounds since the start of January. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened with Christmas? How come you had a little hiccup there if you were on carnivore?
So it was Thanksgiving and Christmas. Thanksgiving, I decided to actually cheat on the diet itself. I ended up having vegetables and dessert and pie and all that. Thanksgiving is just such a big holiday here that I said, you know what? One day I'll be fine. Well, that, like tradition, my one day of a cheat meal snowballed into 3 days of cheating. And within the end of the Thanksgiving weekend, I was back up 15 pounds. Within 2 weeks, 15's gone. We're back down again. We're going into Christmas. I'm so ready. Well, Christmas time, our family tradition, me, my father, and my brother, is a very nice glass of Kentucky bourbon to celebrate the coming in. So I see my brother once or twice a year. We don't live close to each other. And that one glass of bourbon turned into, I think, 4 bottles of bourbon over the course of the night, which for me was absolutely rough because once I hit my 30s, I almost quit drinking. My wife doesn't drink at all. So just living with someone who doesn't drink and how hard I drank in my 20s, I maybe have alcohol once a month, if that. I mean, even especially now since Carnivore, maybe once every 3 months or so. But that definitely threw a hiccup in there. All that alcohol and going out. And I didn't really eat bad. I didn't have cheat meals or anything else. But I mean, just a night of drinking alcohol, I went back up 10 pounds. Luckily, it was pretty much pure water weight. And within the first week of 2026 and New Year's, it was already gone. In 1 week, we got it right back off.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to your goal, I mean, what I see happening with carnivore is that if you eat a species-appropriate diet, which I love that expression. Thank you so much, Dr. Shafee, for bringing that out. I'm sure
absolutely.
he didn't invent it, but he kind of popularized it.
I love him. He's so good. He's so good.
He's amazing. If you're listening, thanks, Anthony.
There you go.
It will eventually, if you eat a species-appropriate diet, you will find yourself at some point at the right weight for what nature believes you should be weighing. It's homeostasis. So in that sense, there is not even like an end point. The end point in the end is when you die a happy human being at the age of 80, 90, or maybe 100 years old. That's the end point. But weight-wise, there will not be an end point because carnivore, taking care of your body, and with carnivore, we'll just make sure that we'll take care of a balanced weight. Once you've reached that. And as you say, of course, you cannot keep on dropping 10. You said you've dropped how many pounds in January already?
In the last 15 days, 24 pounds and change. 24 and change. But I will say, I do believe when I have weeks like that, because I'll have weeks where I lose 2 or 3 pounds, and I can tell those weeks where it's more stabilized, more slow. I can tell those are the weeks where I'm actually burning the fat off. I'm actually making the meaningful changes. These weeks where I drop 9 pounds in 5 days or something like that, that's water for the most part. That's a lot of water retention, which hydration's a big one. You know what I did over the course of the last 2 weeks has been game changing. I doubled, if not tripled, my hydration intake. I was doing between 40 to 60 ounces of water a day. I went back to doing bare minimum 1 gallon a day, and on most days, 1.5 gallons, and I am just shredding weight off now. Absolutely shredding it. Finding your hydration mark is huge.
That's amazing. Well, especially if you go to the sauna as well.
Yeah. Sweating it out on top of that. You're losing a lot. You're absolutely losing a lot.
Yeah. Bill, it's an absolute pleasure talking to you. Ever since I started following you on Instagram, I've been so inspired, and not because I have a weight loss journey. I've if anything, I've always been underweight. I've never been overweight.
Oh, I remember seeing your pictures on Dave Mack.
Oh, I know, right? I mean, that's the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and even there, starting to eat carnivore brought my weight up. And yes, I started working out, even though I did kickboxing at the time on a recreational level, just for fun. So it was not like I was completely sedentary, but I started working out. I started eating carnivore, and nature said like, all right, you're quite skinny. You need to gain some weight. And now I'm just at a perfect weight. Like I fluctuate about 100 grams. That's it. It's amazing. It's absolutely stable. So this is what carnivore will do. But anyway, what I wanted to say is like, I've been really amazed. I love following your account. You know what? Tell us, where can people find you?
Oh, let's see. A lot of places. So on X and YouTube, I am at High Cal Human. On TikTok and Instagram, I am High Calorie Human _. We have a Discord. You can find links through those channels to our Discord. We have a community Discord of a ton of other people trying to lose weight. We keep everyone accountable and just a huge support group. 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, I live stream on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. I am the High Calorie Human on all 3 platforms. We do weight loss live streams. Love when people stop in. I love to hear weight loss stories, people life stories. We love to see it. So I am available on almost every single platform out there.
You mentioned platforms I've never heard of. It's amazing.
Yep.
Well, we'll make sure that all the links are down in the show notes. For anybody who's listening, who is struggling like you, or has been, or is struggling like you were struggling, let's put it that way, because you're doing phenomenally. Any last words?
Getting started is the hardest part, and it's the most important part, is just making a promise to yourself of dedication. So it's like what we spoke earlier about the difference between motivation and dedication. You have to find something to be dedicated to. You have to want to do it. You can't force yourself to do it. You can't, I got to lose the weight, but I don't want to eat like this and do that. You have to find sustainability. You have to be accountable to yourself, and you have to find a reason to be dedicated every single day. Every single day.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I would like to ask you if you would enjoy to come on more often on the show, maybe sometime this summer, late summer, at the end of the year, because I would love to see where you've taken it in, let's say, increments of 6 months time.
Absolutely. It sounds fantastic. I would absolutely love that.
That was amazing. That would be amazing.
I'm more excited to come back just so we can compare our hair in 6 months and see what we're looking at.
Right. Actually, I haven't mentioned anything about that. So tell us about the hair then. Tell us what you told me before we started recording.
The weight loss war cry, man. The hair is not getting cut until I hit a happy point in my weight. So it's going to be long. And also the beauty is when I do cut it, we're going to be donating it to charity for cancer wigs. So it's going to be awesome. And someone else is going to get to wear this luscious curly hair around. Feathered and lethal, I like to call it.
That's fantastic. Bill, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Absolutely.
I wish you all the best. I will keep on following you. I would recommend everybody to start following you and get engaged. It's amazing. It's amazing. From day one, when I saw you online, I've been into your story. It's beautiful. So thank you so much for coming online. Thank you for sharing so openly about it as well. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you back again in, let's say, maybe half a year's time.
Sounds good. I can't wait. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, Bill. Well, for everybody back home, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. This was very inspirational. I hope that there's some of you out there in a similar situation as Bill who've been inspired by him as well to finally take that step. Stop outsourcing your health and take radical responsibility for your health. If so, I would love to hear your comments down below. Where are you at in your journey? Where would you like to be? What was inspiring about this conversation with Bill? Also, give us a like, subscribe to the channel because we're going to have more podcasts like this, not just with Bill, but with other amazing guests talking about amazing transformations. If you feel there's somebody dear in your life who could really do with a little lift, send them this. A little oomph, exactly. Send them this podcast. You never know when you plant a seed when eventually it's going to sprout. That's all I've got to say for now. Thank you once again for watching, and I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching the Patrick Alexander podcast.